On this episode of Locked On Angels, our Halos have the number 2 overall pick on Sunday in the MLB Draft. They got a big decision to make. So what are the experts saying? How should the Halos go about drafting this year? And who'd we like to see? The Super Halo Bros. It's time to get locked on with Mike and John. And this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
With the first pick, you made Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. We appreciate that. And you can find us anywhere you get your podcast, including Apple Podcast, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And if you'd like to get back to the Super Halo Bros for all the Super Halo content, here's some things that you can do. Leave us a rate and a review on Apple Podcasts. Thanks to those that have done that recently. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe and become a Locked On Everydayer. And whether you're watching or listening, come over to YouTube and leave a comment. It's one of the best ways to get in touch with us and be a part of the conversation. And this episode of Locked On Angels is brought to you by our friends at Gametime. You can download the Gametime app, create an account, and use our promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase.
Happy Friday to you. Thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
F is in Frank, R is in Ryan, I is in I had to do that on the phone. How do you spell your last name? French? Frisk? Fresh.
Listen to me, please.
Hey, it's our 4th season here as the host of Locked On Angels, talking Angels baseball with you every Monday through Friday, every single weekday. Now, normally we would do a recap of the night before, of the game from the night before. If you're looking for instant analysis, Gavin Carlson, who does the Locked On Angels postcast, has got you covered there because we have a lot to talk about today. We have to talk about the upcoming draft on Sunday. The Angels pick second, and it's going to be a pretty big decision. So we're going to go through a couple of things. What do the experts say? How do we believe the Angels should draft at number 2? And then finally, we'll make our picks and who we'd like to see them pick, even if it's not realistically what the Angels would do. But we'll get into all of that conversation. Mike, let's start with what the experts are saying. A lot's changed since the Angels learned that they'd be selecting second in the draft back in December. In fact, where Jace Lavalette was on everybody's big board at number 2 at the time behind Ethan Holiday, but he got hurt. And so he's not expected to go in that top 10 anymore. And so his situation is kind of in flux. So the consensus on this draft is really that there's not a clear number 1. Now, everybody has their favorites. And of course, we looked around the league at the different experts, and they've all kind of said that the top 10 feel really bunched up in terms of talent. No one's really pulled away from the pack. So it feels like one of those situations where you can't go wrong depending on who you go with. So let's take a look at what the experts are saying the Angels will do in their mock drafts. We're going to look at Baseball America, MLB Pipeline, The Athletic, and even Locked On's own Jeff Ellis. He's our resident draft expert, and he's one of the hosts of Locked On Guardians along with Justin Latta. They do a great job on Locked On Guardians. Mike, get us started with Baseball America.
Yeah, most recent mock draft from Baseball America got here on Wednesday, July 9th. They had the Nationals taking Ethan Holiday. He's the son of Matt Holiday and brother of Jackson Holiday at number 1. He's a shortstop, third base prospect, also a high school prospect. The Angels are predicted to take by Baseball America Kade Anderson. He's going to go number 2 if the Angels select him. He's a left-hander out of LSU. The Mariners are rumored to be taking Iva Arquette at number 3. Arquette is a shortstop out of Oregon State. Rockies are rumored to take Liam Doyle, according to Baseball America, at number 4. He's a lefty starter out of Tennessee. And then the Cardinals, rumored to be taking son of Reggie Willits. Remember Reggie Willits played for the Angels? He was a guy that saved one of our seasons in the late 2000s. He was awesome in left field for just 1 year, but he was awesome. His son Eli Willits is rumored to be going at number 5. He is also a high school prospect, and he profiles as a shortstop.
Yeah, then the Athletics' Keith Law released his mock draft back on July 1st. He's got Ethan Holiday going number 1. He says the Angels will take Liam Doyle at number 2, then Kade Anderson, then Arquette, then Ike Irish rounds out his top 5. Irish is a catcher and also an outfielder. Then there's Jim Callis of MLB Pipeline.
Ike Irish, that's a baseball name, right?
You're telling me.
That's good.
Do you like the Irish? Right? Yeah, exactly. Jim Callis of MLB Pipeline released his latest mock draft back on July 3rd. Kade Anderson is his first pick. He's got the Angels taking Liam Doyle at number 2. He's got Seth Hernandez to the Mariners. Now, remember, Seth Hernandez, starting pitcher from Corona High School, so a local kid who is a very, very good starting pitcher. We'll talk about him a little bit more later on. Ethan Holiday at number 4 to the Rockies, and then Ike Irish to the Cardinals, just kind of like Keith Law's finish. And then finally, let's take a look at Jeff Ellis's ranking. Again, he's one of the Locked On prospect experts, and he also co-hosts Locked On Guardians. He didn't have a mock draft, Mike, but he does have his top draft picks ranked. So let's take a look at those.
Yeah, number 1, he has Jamie Arnold. Number 2, Kade Anderson. Kyson Witherspoon at number 3 is a right-hander out of Oklahoma. Iva Arquette at number 4, and then right-handed pitcher Tyler Bremner out of UC Santa Barbara at number 5.
Yeah, so it seems like the experts agree that the Angels will pick a college pitcher at number 2. So which one they take kind of changes from mock draft to mock draft.
Yeah.
But let's take a look at 3 that seem very, very likely. Let me start with Liam Doyle, again, left-handed pitcher out of Tennessee. The Athletic says he sits 96 to 99 on the fastball. Hitters whiffed on his fastball over 40% of the time. Mike, he's got a plus splitter that sits at 89 miles an hour. He's walked 8% of the batters that he's faced.
Wow.
2 knocks against him are the lack of a track record. And then you wonder if his delivery, it's a little unorthodox. You wonder if that's repeatable. But if things hold up, he says that he could be a number 2 starter, and he'd start him in AA. Baseball America says that Liam Doyle's got that 2.91 ERA across 89 and 2/3 innings pitched in Division I ball, a 70 grade fastball. Remember, 80 is the best. One of the best in the class. He could be the first arm off the board. MLB Pipeline has some concerns about him. The repeatable delivery issue. He throws with max intent. He gives everything to every throw. So you combine those 2 things with throwing his fastball 2/3 of the time, that could lead to some injury risk. Finally, Jeff Ellis of Locked On says his whiff rate in the zone is the best whiff rate in the zone that he's seen from anybody in recent years. And he also said that the violent delivery could lead to injury risk and even some reliever risk. So that's what everybody's saying about Liam Doyle. What about Kade Anderson, Mike?
Yeah, he's out of LSU, a left-handed pitcher. The Athletic says he's very polished, has a true 4-pitch mix, 91 to 95 4-seam and 2-seam with a plus changeup. Excellent deception. He's graded out to maybe be a middle of the rotation starter. Baseball America gave us some stats on him. He's got a 3.18 ERA in 2025, 180 Ks, 35 walks across 119 innings. So that's a great strikeout to walk ratio. An above average slider that could be a plus. 30% whiff rate. So a lot of guys are swinging and missing. High spin on his curveball, excellent depth, distinct shape from the slider. One concern is that he did have Tommy John surgery already back in high school in April of 2022. MLB Pipeline has some concerns. They say he's a high floor lefty. If he has an uptick in his stuff, he could be a frontline starter. And Jeff Ellis of Locked On says he works a lot in the zone, but was able to generate a high amount of whiffs in the zone, and his slider has really helped him to generate a high chase rate as well. And he could be maybe a number 2 or number 3 starter down the line.
Finally, let's talk about Jamie Arnold. Again, one of the 3 college pitchers that it seems like the experts are predicting the Angels would take. Keith Law of The Athletic said some information here. Finished 3rd in Division I baseball in strikeouts back in 2024 behind, just Chase Burns and Hagen Smith, who were top picks last year. We saw Chase Burns debut with the Reds this year. Jamie Arnold has a low slot delivery. It's almost sidearm. He's got a plus slider with tons of horizontal break. The arm slot could lend itself to reliever risk, but if he starts, he's at least a middle of the rotation guy. Baseball America gave us some more stats, a 2.98 ERA over 15 starts, Mike, a 33.9% K rate, and a 7.7% walk rate. That low arm slot creates a lot of deception. His fastball sits 92 to 95, but it can touch 97 to 98.
Wow.
He's got a plus slider that profiles as a sweeper in the mid 80s. He's got high probability he's a high probability starter with mid-rotation upside. MLB Pipeline says that his arm slot has drawn him comparisons to Chris Sale. And then finally, Jeff Ellis of Locked On says he's Jeff's number 1 ranked draftee. So he's at the top of Jeff's board. He does everything well. All the advanced data like swing and miss, vertical break, spin rate, that puts him in the top 40% of all the categories of data available. Jeff says he's a safe pick, no health issues, a well-developed pitch mix, plus command and control. So, Mike, which of these 3 arms stand out to you, and which do you see the Angels potentially going after?
Well, Jamie Arnold, I think, is the guy that the Angels will potentially go after just based off of what Jeff Ellis said, that he's a safe pick, no health issues, well-developed pitch mix, plus command and control. They want a guy that throws strikes, and they want a guy that's not going to walk anybody, and they want a guy that can be up in the majors. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later on in the show, but I think that that's probably the guy that they're going to be aiming for. If not him, then Kade Anderson, because Kade Anderson is just a polished pitcher, John. He's ready to go. And I think that that's what the Angels are looking for.
I really like that Chris Sale comparison for Jamie Arnold. Like,
can't go wrong with that.
I'll take that any day of the week. But it sounds like, out of these 3 guys, he's probably the most ready out of the box for the Angels. All of the good development is done, and all you really have to do is polish up some things and help him get ready for the major leagues. But Keith Law saying that Liam Doyle could slot in at number 2, a number 2 starter, start right in Double-A. That's really interesting to me too. So between these 3, I don't think the Angels can go wrong, but I think out of those 3, I really like that Jamie Arnold to Chris Sale comparison. We're going to keep continuing our conversation on the Angels' potential draft picks, but thank you for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Coming up, how should the Halos draft on Sunday? We'll tell you what we mean in just a minute.
Get the supplies you need from the site that's made for skilled trades at supplyhouse.com. Whether it's plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, supplyhouse.com is the reliable way to order products online. They have an easy-to-use website packed with helpful resources. Plus, they have all the latest product info, going to help you get the job done right. They have a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts and 400-plus top brands. You're going to find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. And if you need help with an order, they offer expert support and industry-leading service. Get to talk to a real person. And if you're a trade pro looking for an extra edge, then join their free Trade Master program. It offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, discounts on every order. And if you're looking to order plumbing, HVAC, or electrical supplies in just a few clicks, go to supplyhouse.com. And when you check out using this promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. Again, that's supplyhouse.com.
This is the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. With the number 2 pick in the draft, the Angels really have an opportunity to get exactly who they want. But what do they want? Now, in the previous segment, we looked at a couple expert mock drafts, and they all agreed on one thing. The Angels are taking a college arm. Who it will be is up in the air. However, there's a couple considerations that the Angels need to make as they head into Sunday's draft. They won't be able to draft inside the top 10 next year because of the new draft lottery rules. So this is also the first time they've ever had the number 2 pick. They have had 2 number 1 picks in the past. In fact, they got Darren Erstad in 1995 with that number 1 pick. He helped the team out a little bit.
Turned out pretty good, right?
Are they going to draft college again simply to get this player up to the majors quickly? Are they dead set on a college arm? Is it going to be a position player on their radar? Is now the time to consider a high school prep player and let them develop in the minors for the next few years? So there's some considerations the Halos have to make, especially with how important this number 2 pick is, right, Mike?
Yeah, and then the Angels finally, they have a bonus pool of over $16.5 million, and each of those picks in the draft come with an assigned value. The number 2 pick has a slot value of up to $10.2 million, which means that they can use up to that money to lock in a player and ensure that they sign him. And this would be mostly maybe for a high school player who's committed to college. It kind of incentivizes them, persuades them to join the team and not go to college. But it also can be used as an incentive for a college level player, despite it being a natural step to take them in their next step in a career. They also have to be able to spread the wealth a bit across their picks as well. So if they do want to sign a high school player, then they're going to have to be wise about what they offer that high school player so that they have money later on to sign other guys, or vice versa. If they sign a guy early in the draft and then they have some extra money left over. They did that with Trey Gregory Alford last year. They had to give him a bit of a incentive to come to the team, and he took it, which is great. Yeah. But you have to watch what you are spending because you only have an allotted amount of resources to be able to spend.
So what are the pros and cons, in your opinion, of going with a college arm like the experts expect them to do? What do you say?
The pros are that they are going to continue the trend of having young guys on this major league roster sooner rather than later. And quite honestly, John, I think there's a lot of narrative pushback out there against that because the Angels are drafting really, really high. And so you want to get the guy that you want that maybe you wouldn't be able to get if you were not in the top 10. But I think for the Angels, they have a strategy. Whether we agree with the strategy or not is irrelevant to the fact that they have a strategy. And the strategy is we're going to let the college prep develop our guys, and then we're going to bring them up, get them acclimated to how Major League Baseball works, and then bring them to the roster. And quite honestly, I don't think that is a bad idea based upon how the Angels are operating right now with Artie Moreno in control. I get that there's a lot of really good arms. We'll talk about those good arms in just a moment that are high school guys, but you have a lot of really good arms at the college level that could make an immediate impact. And we've seen that the Angels, even though the narrative isn't great in the minor leagues, we've seen at the major league level that they are able to help these guys become so much better. Nolan Shawnuel, Zach Neto. I know that Logan O'Hoppe is working on some things, right? We have a lot of stories at the major league level of guys being able to figure some things out and end up being elite. And it only has taken them about a year to a year and a half to get there. So my expectation, the pro for the Angels of drafting a college arm, is that they're going to have somebody to make a big impact. I think the con, John, is that they may not get the guy that everybody would want them to get. And ultimately that maybe they could get at the number 2 slot because they just don't seem to have the time, nor do they have the patience to wait for somebody to develop and get to the major league level.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit frustrating when you have this position at number 2 to pick somebody. And typically you might go for the guy who's going to take a little bit of time to develop. You might go for that high school player, right? Now, in that consideration and what you just said about Artie Moreno being this owner who's not going to spend money, who wants to get prospects to the major leagues quickly, we always say it. This is the sandbox that the Angels organization and Perry Manassian, by extension, are operating in. So it's almost like, well, your circumstances aren't that great because of, the hindrance that is Artie in the front office. However, what you're doing within those circumstances is not working. It's actually worked out pretty well. It's like, I got this beat up old car that gets me to and from work here in town, and that's as far as I can go. That's kind of how this is, Mike. Like, yeah, I got this reliable car that's getting me to and from, but I'm definitely not going to drive across the country in it. And that's kind of how it feels with Artie Moreno. He's not going to let you drive across the country. You got to keep that car in town. And considering that's the limitations that are on this club in terms of spending, in terms of getting free agents to help out the major league club, I think Perry is operating within Artie's globe, his world, his sandbox, his playground. He is working within that, and working within those means doesn't mean it's the best situation, doesn't mean it's the best strategy, but considering the circumstances, you got to do what you got to do. And that's kind of what this feels like, right?
Yeah, and which leads to the second question. Do you think it's time for the Angels to take a high school prep player like an Ethan Holiday, an Eli Willits, or maybe even a Seth Hernandez. What are your thoughts there?
I wish that they would, especially with this second pick in the draft, because when you have somebody, and I'll talk about him a little bit later, Seth Hernandez, when you have somebody like that who he's displaying some really great stuff now in high school as a 19-year-old, it would be a shame to pass that up. And I know that the Angels are on their timeline. Mike, I think that there are some guys here that, you throw some bonus pool money at them, you let them develop, you let them take their time. I mean, look at Jackson Holiday, right? A lot of people say that Ethan Holiday might not be as athletic as Jackson, but Jackson himself has said, no, Ethan's the better player. He's better than me at baseball. And Jackson didn't have a great first year. Second year, he's been cooking. I know the Orioles are not doing that great, but Jackson Holiday has really stepped up. And again, it's a baseball family. It's in their DNA. It's in their blood. So I think the most wise decision would to use this number 2 pick to go after somebody that you can let develop for a couple of years and come up and be a franchise player. The issue is, again, their timeline doesn't fit what they should do. But you have to consider, again, they're not going to be in the top 10 next year. They're not going to be able to draft within the top 10. I think using this number 2 pick on somebody that they could, have for a generation and be, Mike Trout right? Like let them develop in the minors, bring them up when they're ready. I think that they're missing out if they don't take advantage of that. But that leads us to our final question for this segment. Mike, should the Angels go position player or should they go pitcher?
Honestly, I think that it needs to be a pitcher, just because just simply like you're not in the top 10 that often, and a position player can be found in any round, right? I get first round are better than second round. I understand that, but I feel like pitchers are just elite when you can get them at 1, 2, or 3, right? Paul Skeens is an example of that. Other pitchers fall into that category. And so I think that you can find yourself in a situation where, man, I just really want to get an arm, and I want to get somebody that can have an impact on our team, lead our rotation. The Angels have just really struggled to have that. They have a lot of young arms getting ready to kind of explode onto the scene in the next couple of years. So why not get a guy that maybe could lead that rotation in the next few years and help this team win?
I think the conundrum here too is that the problem is there's not a Paul Skeens at the top of the draft. That's, a college pitcher on the level that he was. And that's unfortunate because, they have the number 2 pick, and sometimes there's 2 guys at the top of the draft that are like, oh, obviously 1 and 2 are going to be player A and player B. That's not happening this year.
Right.
I know a lot of people are saying Ethan Holiday at number 1, and a lot of the experts say that too, but there's some boards out there that don't have him at number 1. There's some mock drafts that don't have the Nationals taking him at number 1. I think Baseball America had him at number 4 for the Rockies. And so it's going to be really interesting how this all plays out. But again, I think it's going to be really interesting and a lot of fun, depending on who the Angels take at number 2, who can impact this club in a short timeline. It's not ideal, but I still think that it's going to be somebody that we're excited about.
Gametime is the easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without all the stress and the money you save. Get yourself some helmet nachos, maybe a baseball card, maybe even a jersey. That'd be fun. Get a jersey at the game. Love that. Gametime is making buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app, they actually drop closer that you get to first pitch. They've got incredible last-minute deals, and they have a lowest price guarantee. Gametime is the official ticketing partner of Locked On MLB, so let them help you out next time you're going to the game. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use our promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Some terms do apply. Again, create an account and use our promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Download the Gametime app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed.
Now that we've discussed who the experts think the Angels are taking and how we think the Angels should draft, let's be fans for a moment. Because after all, we used to say on our Super Halo Bros podcast, we want our fan-guided wisdom to get the Angels to the World Series.
Took me back. I haven't said that. We haven't said that in a long time.
I know. Somehow I ended up on our old podcast on Spotify, and I was like, you know what? I wonder how much we've changed in the last 4 years. I think we've gotten a lot better at
good
podcasting. Yeah. So,
I would hope so.
Yeah, I would hope so too. So who do the Super Halo Bros want the Angels to take in the draft? Mike, should I start or do you want to start?
You go ahead and start because I agree with you. So I'm going to pick somebody else just for the sake of picking somebody else. So why don't you start with your favorite guy?
Mike, I'm going with Seth Hernandez, the high school pitcher from Corona High School.
Good
now,
move.
when I first heard his name come up and that, there might be some interest from the Angels, I went, are you kidding me? They traveled 15 miles to Corona to go watch somebody. Like, is that the scouting department? But then MLB Network had this on the other day. Mike, there might be 4 Corona High School players in the top 100 being picked in the draft. Like in the first 100 picks, 4 of them might be from Corona High School. And the first one would be Seth Hernandez.
Wow.
Mike, he's 19 years old. He's a righty and he's 6'4". Now, there's never been a number 1 overall pick taken out of high school who's a right-handed pitcher. That's never happened before. So maybe it could happen at number 2. But here's why I like this kid. He's touching 97 and 98 on his fastball as a high schooler.
Wow.
He's even hitting triple digits. MLB Pipeline has his fastball as a 70 grade fastball. Baseball America has it more at 65, but they also say his changeup is 70.
Wow.
They say he's got ace level potential like a Hunter Green or a Mackenzie Gore. He's also kind of got the same kind of body type as those guys. Mike, he throws a circle changeup. That's what Jared Weaver used to throw.
You don't hear about that much often either, a circle change.
You don't. And then he's got like what they call a spike curveball. Essentially, it's, on a clock, it's 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock movement. So it's straight up and down. We've got some starting pitching depth, but we don't have a standout like this.
Mm-hmm.
I know it would take a few years, but considering what he's already able to do before he's even in college, I think he's ahead of schedule. The fact that he can throw what he's throwing at 19 years old, kids don't touch that miles per hour, that velocity. That's ridiculous. And so I say back up the Brinks truck for this kid. If he falls to you at number 2, I would love to see them take Seth Hernandez. I know his development would take some time. They'd want to go slow with him. But at the same time, if he's ahead of the curve, I don't think it would be a bad thing to call him up at 21 years old, right? Like, I think that you could get away with that considering where he's already at and the way he grades out. 70 grade fastball from MLB Pipeline, a 70 grade changeup from Baseball America. I also want them to use their pick at number 2 on a high school player because they haven't done that in so long. And this will probably be the last chance they get to take somebody like this for a while. I also consider somebody like, I don't know, think of Griffin Canning, think of Reed Detmers, right? Reed Detmers was a number 1 a first round pick for the Angels, and he was out of college. And we know how his story has gone. And so very similar to that is we have these 3 guys, Jamie Arnold and Kade Anderson and Liam Doyle, who are college guys and they're great, but most of the experts are saying they'll be middle of the rotation, maybe a number 2. Like, let's get an ace. This guy, Seth Hernandez, will be an ace wherever he ends up. And I wish that it would be with the Angels. What do you say?
I would agree with you 100%, but just for the sake of being different, I really like Jamie Arnold.
Okay.
And I really like what he brings to the table. But John, I think I fall in a category that a lot of fans don't fall into. And I am okay with drafting a guy and then figuring out how fast you can get him to the major league level. I don't think it's egregious. I don't think it's wrong. I don't think it's bad.
Egregious? Outrageous? Preposterous?
I just think that we have been trained as baseball fans to believe that people have to develop in order for them to be really good, because that's all that we've ever seen. The Angels have really bucked the system in the last couple of years, bringing up young guys out of the draft and having them on their major league roster. And they've gotten a lot of grief for it, and rightly so, because it was very new, but it's turned out pretty great for them. And so if I have any confidence in our organization, it would be confident in the fact that they can actually bring somebody up and have them perform pretty well. We don't have these conversations about developing guys in the NFL. Why? Because they don't do that, right? They draft guys and they make an immediate impact. And I think that this team needs to continue to have guys that make an immediate impact. And here's why. Look at what Zach Neto has brought to this team. Look what Christian Moore has brought to this team. Even being out with an injury, you can tell the difference that he's not on the field or in this lineup, right? And so I want guys like that. I want guys that can come up and make an immediate impact and can change things, even if they're not the best of the best, but can come up and be in the starting rotation. I think Jamie Arnold has that opportunity. I think Kade Anderson does as well. I like Jamie more than I like Kade. Liam Doyle is really good as well. Yeah. So I'm of the philosophy. I really like what the Angels are doing. One, because it's new. One, because it's risky, and three, I really like it because it's helping our team, right? Did I say one and three? I did. I like it because it's really helping our team. So I might buck the traditional system. All the old hats that are watching the show are probably really mad at me because they're like, no, you have to develop, and I get all that. I'm with you 100%, but I want to see my team win. And if this is the strategy to help them win, then I'm in, man. Draft people that are going to make an immediate impact. So that's my philosophy. I will say, going back to what you said about Seth Hernandez, I really like that kid more than I like anybody else in the draft. Yeah. And so if the Angels get him, I'm in. Sign me up, because I think he's going to be fantastic.
You know, it's funny. You mentioned something, and you mentioned Christian Moore. I didn't even consider that often the Angels will draft for makeup, as in, attitude, competitiveness. And that's what they did with Christian Moore. That's what they did with Zach Neto. And so Perry is a makeup guy in terms of what do you bring to the team in terms of, that veracity, that attitude, that playability, the gamer attitude, a baseball player, a guy who gets down in the dirt and gets dirty sliding or makes a diving catch, whatever. That's something I think we need to consider too. And you wonder if the Angels surprise us with their number 2 pick, because maybe they go under slot. Maybe they get somebody that they don't have to spend as much money for at number 2. And maybe they go with somebody who's a makeup kind of guy that we're all going to go, huh? You picked that guy at number 2, but he fits the culture of the team. He fits the attitude of the organization. I think that's a variable that we also have to look out for as the draft approaches on Sunday.
Prepare for, who's this guy? You know that's probably going to happen. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Now for your next listen, check out Locked On MLB Game Night. You can find the show on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, be sure you give us a follow on Twitter at Locked On Angels and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. Whether you're watching or listening, come on over to today's show on YouTube. Get in the episode comments, because we would love to hear your thoughts and opinions and who maybe you would want them to take at number 2. Mike, when we come back on Monday, what do we got?
Well, we've got the draft. We're going to be talking about who the Angels did select. I know they're playing the Diamondbacks this weekend. You've got Gavin Carlson covering all the details after every game, postcast, best postcast in the biz. So check him out. Monday, John, you and I are going to give some highlights about the Diamondbacks and the Angels series, but I think we're going to lean more in the conversation about what happened at the draft. So come back here on Monday. We're going to talk a lot about who the Angels selected, even if it was a moment. We're going to talk about it, and it's going to be fun. Join us on Monday on Locked On Angels.
All right. We hope you have a great weekend, and we look forward to having you back here on Monday. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Don't forget to jump in on the conversation. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you back here on Monday.
You said makeup, and all I thought was, she's one step away from the Clinique counter. Nipple Popper MD.